Okay, so a lot of people. I'm just letting you know I'm recording now. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so a lot of people call me up and they're worried about the same things you're worried about. They're worried about the government bringing in new legislation and all of these things, and they're really scared that their rights are going to be eroded.
Yeah.
A lot of our people don't realise that the government cannot operate without the Māori consent, okay?
Ooh.
And there's a thing called the Royal Charter, and it consists of a kingdom, a religion, and a council. So you have the Māori Council, you've got the Kingitanga, and you've got Ratana Church. And every year there's a ceremony. And the reason why there's a ceremony, it's called the Commercial Contract Ceremony. Okay, so every 25th of January, you'll have the government goes up to the Ratana Church, and the government will place an envelope on Papatūānuku, on the whenua, and the Ratana Church people will spin their taiaha and do a ceremony, and then they pick up that envelope, and that's called a commercial contract. And so what Ratana Church is doing, whether they know it or not, is they're accepting a contract for the New Zealand government to continue operating.
Oh.
Okay, and because the government is a corporation, they're not allowed to govern over us without the Māori consent. Okay, and so then a few days after that, after the ceremony is finished at Ratana Church, the government goes up to do another contractual ceremony, and that's called Waitangi Day, on the 6th of February, and an envelope is exchanged. And, first of all, the pōwhiri is done. And so the Māori welcome the government on with a pōwhiri, and that's part of the ceremony. And then an envelope is exchanged, or money is exchanged, deals are made, and then the government is allowed to continue business for another year, another fiscal year. Okay, and then you need to have the permission of the kingdom, and so the kingitanga throughout the year, the representative is Te Heitia, and the same thing, he signs off every year. Now, if we break those ceremonies, if we stop doing the pōwhiri, if we stop going along with the dances and the ceremonies, and we actually think, hey, what are we doing? Then there would be no New Zealand government. They are only there by consent, and the Māori put them there. Okay? And so as you guys are probably quite new, you might have seen a couple of our videos. We've got like 150 videos, and we explain this in our videos. You'll see us going up to Waitangi trying to stop the pōwhiri, or you'll see us doing videos on how things operate, but people still haven't really, that still hasn't sunken in. It's like
Look, I'm 55 years old, and you just dropped the bomb on my wheels.
Yeah, the power's with us, okay, and it always has been, and that's why Māori were given the flag in the first place. We were given everything. We were given a treaty, we were given a royal proclamation, the He Whakaputanga. We've got tikanga, we had our own civilization, we had our own way of doing it. We've been given everything. Why are our people failing? Because a foreign structure has been set up, okay? So and that's the danger of trusts. And the trusts is the three, okay? So in the Royal Charter, you've got the kingitanga, the council, and the religion. Okay, at the marae, you've got the trusts, the trust boards. They're all siphoning mechanisms, and they all come under Te Punikokiri, and Te Punikokiri comes under the Māori Ministry, and that comes under the New Zealand government. Okay, so that effectively means that every marae has been compromised. Every marae gets funding through Te Punikokiri.
Yeah.
I don't even do...
That's what I'm finding out for a few of my relations who are doing government education programs. They are scared that their funding will stop.
Yep. So I don't do hui anymore. I find that most maraes have been compromised. I find that at the huis, I become compromised.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to find that when I go to my next hui, because it got postponed from this month because of the COVID, but it's going to take place, because we're actually, all three of my maraes here in the Waikato are under that tukuni kōkiri, getting those funds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are going to go, I can just imagine it now, they're going to tell me to shut the hell up.
Yeah. Okay, so it's dangerous to go straight to your marae and speak up. If you're going to speak up at the maraes, go as a whānau hapu, go as a group who are pono and who are going to speak the truth, because the trust board members are disillusioned. They think they have the power. Now, a Māori trust can be easily dissolved, okay? Okay, and the whānau hapu need to start asking questions, but it needs to be done in a diplomatic manner, and it needs to be done in a safe way, because there's a lot of corruption in the Māori authorities.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't want the truth coming out. Have you ever wondered why no maraes, or very few maraes, fly the 1834 flag?
Yeah, because of what it stands for.
Yeah, even at my marae in Kahuranaki in Te Hauki, Te Hapuku was one of the autographees of the 1835 He Whakaputanga, and at all of our tangi and everything, there was never a flag flying. Why? Why would they flying? We should be respecting our tūpuna. Now, according to the He Whakaputanga, and there's 4 articles in the He Whakaputanga, and they basically are the instructions for us mokopuna to follow. And it's really easy. The Te Wakamingi o ngā hapu is the authoritative body for each hapu territory. And it's not something that can be put into a trust, and it's not something that can be put into a government. Those things can't be blended with Te Wakamingi o ngā hapu, because Te Wakamingi o ngā hapu was a hui in the sacred realm first and foremost. It was the coming together between the divine and the physical, and it was very special, and it can't be contaminated with trust boards and corruption ways of thinking. In fact, the He Whakaputanga was found in roughly year 2000 by Charlie Hikawai and a group of elders from Kaio and Matodi Bay and Waimahana up in Taupo Bay, way up in the far north. And they came across the He Whakaputanga in roughly year 2000 when they were doing the Waimahana land claim. And they went down and they were talking to a land lawyer down in one of the Parliament buildings, and they saw the He Whakaputanga on the lawyer's desk. That was the original He Whakaputanga, and it was underneath a glass pane of glass, and they recognised what this was. And you've got to think, there wasn't many people at that time that knew about He Whakaputanga. In fact, it was a miracle. These men were all elders, and some of them have passed on now. And they just happened to know what it was because their tūpuna had autographed He Whakaputanga. Now, what was the chances of that meeting and them finding that? You know?
Yeah.
But since then and now, the He Whakaputanga between there and now, it's been 21 years now since it was found. Even though it was found, it wasn't found. It wasn't seen. You had to have... Only certain eyes could really see it for its purpose, because it was a sacred document, and the wairua wouldn't allow certain ones to use it. If they were going to use it for the improper things, they would be cursed, and no one would flourish unless it was done correctly. The instructions are on He Whakaputanga. We have to follow those instructions. And we have to read it. We have to start reading it. Fly the flag, read the He Whakaputanga, resonate with it, and give honour to our tūpuna. And until that happens, there is no physical hui that is Te Wakamingia hui. Only the Wakamingia o ngā hapu hui isn't a hui if your hapu's not there. Te Wakamingia hapu hui isn't there if there's no tino rangatira there. It's not there if it's not in the spiritual realm. So you can't go and just have a Wakamingia hui and think that that's a Wakamingia. It's not like that. This is Wairua-led. And we can't force it because only those with the eyes will see, and only those with the right heart and the right mind will hear what needs to be done. And some people will never understand it.
Yeah.
Because they're still running off with these lawyers or running off joining all these groups and doing big paperwork. There is no paperwork.
No.
We don't need paperwork. We don't even need a C-Pass. We make the C-Passes so people can identify with their Indigenous and Native tribes and with their Indigenous and Native nations. Now, we remove ourselves from the New Zealand. The first thing we've got to do is identify ourselves correctly. And that's the purpose of the card. And on the card, we've put a whole series of things on there that protect us. And you come under your own hapu. We don't rule over anyone. We can advise people, but we could never...
That's what Dr. was saying to me.
Yeah.
Because I was still thinking old school, well, Pākehā school.
Yeah.
And wanting one of our younger leaders to take that mantle. But his kōrero went back to that Puni Kōkiri.
Yeah.
Scared of losing the funding, and my sister said to me, well, you can do it, bro.
Yeah. Why not? Maybe you're the tino rangatira. There's going to be a lot of diamonds in the rough. There's going to be people coming out of the woodworks who are the tino rangatira, and they come in all shapes and sizes.
Well, this is the first kaupapa that's actually making me fight inside myself.
Yeah.
I mean, because I've had these thoughts for, many, many years. Since I was almost a bloody child, these things were bugging me because everything just didn't seem right with the world.
Yeah.
Nothing that I was, looking at or doing, when I looked at it and went, nah, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Because my people had told me all those stories, and I've been brought up that way my whole life. I'm one of those Māoris who knows how to, I'm not worried about a house. I can build a house out of the bush and get my car and just live off the land. I'm quite happy to be doing it.
Yeah. 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 And this is the time for the ones who are like that to come forward. Those are the ones we need. Like, sometimes when we go and do the court stuff, it might look pretty fancy what we're doing, but I think that's not the way. We shouldn't even have a court system. Like, I get sick of...
We need you to be doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Otherwise, who's going to be there to help those people that are stuck in that system?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But we need those other ones who live off the land and who have those good values to come forward and to realise if they don't know the fancy paperwork, that doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter. What matters is the wairua and their heart is good and that they're not seeing dollar signs.
Yeah, it's not about the money because I've been trying to teach my children that from the day they were born and, how to fishing, to hunting, to get the food from out of the bush.
Yeah.
You don't need money, kids. Everybody else is around that. Why I don't associate with them is because that's what they think of all the time is money, money, money.
Yeah. It's a sickness, eh? Like even with us, with me personally, I'm just stocking up on heaps of food and practical items because I know the money's going to run out soon. And even if you had money in the bank, they're going to shut the banks. So the faster we get our people into gardening, going back to the old ways, just start the conversation. Doesn't have to be fancy. Let's start talking about the true histories and what our tūpuna had set out. Let's read the instructions on the He Whakaputanga. Every Sunday night, have a whānau roast and get each one of the kids to read one of the articles. And those are the instructions. That's the only paperwork we really need.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's nothing in my life like... Everyone I work with, they still in that job scenario where for me I get to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm going to work to play and they just can't get that.
Yeah. And I think when your heart loves doing what you do, then you become pretty happy, because I feel like that too, because I've seen, like I know that before I came along, there were people who tried really hard with this kaupapa and they were snuffed out, man. They were targeted. It was harder for the men. Those men,
Yeah.
you know, they'd end up in jail. There's most likely people still in jail for trying to do this kaupapa.
Yep. Oh, I can believe that, yes, because as soon as my mind clicked onto it and I started listening with my heart and said,
Yeah.
I was so bloody angry when I sent you that message last night because of all the things that were happening to me. It was like, fucking heck.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Like sometimes when you see, even in the young ones, you'll see them get really angry and they kind of look like they might be having a mental breakdown, but they're not. That's just them going through that transition.
Same struggle, yes. Yeah.
Before every tino rangatira, there's that. You don't get to be a tino rangatira without experiencing that anger.
Yeah.
And
yes, because you have to have all those facets. Because how are you going to understand what's been left us?
Yeah. And so for all those people out there who feel they're having an emotional breakdown, who feel like killing themselves, who feel like there's a lot going on, it's okay. You can get through that, and you will be a well-rounded tino rangatira. Yeah, some of the best tino rangatiras I know now were talking to the other side and doing things that...
I talk to the other side all the time. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
But, he came to visit me when I was a young man.
Yeah.
In my late teens. And...
Yeah. We know the darkness as well. And in the Waikato, there was a lot of darkness and there's everywhere there has been the darkness. We have all seen it, and we've seen it in the eyes of our own whānau, and we've seen it in the demonic form and the shape-shifting form, and then be the loveliest person. And so there's a lot going on with our people, but this is going to set them free, and the Wairua will lead it. It can't be forced.
No. And that's why you sent that message about not going down the Pākehā way of promoting what we're doing.
Yeah.
Use the Wairua.
Yeah, it's powerful. Even sometimes when I'm always alone, because I'm like, I just don't really want to do hui anymore or see anyone. I just do my mahi privately and then just mail out the things. And when I'm alone, I can almost communicate or feel I'm communicating with the other people that I need to.
Yep.
Because we used to be able to do that.
Yeah, because my dad used to be like a ghostbuster in his younger days.
Yeah.
You know, and I never found this out until quite recently from my tuakana.
Yeah.
You know, and I just went, what the heck?
It changes everything, eh? It's the last thing our people needed to really make them all-rounded, to give them their armour of protectorate. It's the last thing we needed, is the last piece of the puzzle. I mean, there is more pieces of the puzzle. It goes deeper.
Oh, I bet, yes.
But this...
I can see that, because this is quite a psychological development.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to get your mind around and your heart around so many things and be loving about all of it.
Yeah.
The good and the bad.
And it takes a strong person to absorb all of that and still be able to...
To be himself.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
other thing I found with being a tohunga is it's quite embarrassing to be a tohunga sometimes. You've got to say the things that no one else is going to say. You've got to be
Yeah.
the one to break the news or pass on the message, from the tupunas, and it's embarrassing. It's hard.
Yes, it can be quite stressful when you're giving news that people don't want to hear.
Yeah, and also the other thing is to be able to articulate ourselves, the profound message that needs to be told without coming across as mentally ill is a really hard skill to.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when I sent you that message, I was actually quite surprised with myself in the way that I worded things, because those were not my words.
But that's okay, because luckily I've been doing this for a while. I can sense the correct thing to respond, because within the words of anger, there is also the answer.
Yeah. Yes. So true.
So
Yep.
it doesn't matter. It needed to be said because it could have just taken, like, if it wasn't resolved swiftly, it could have taken on its own pathway.
Yes, and we don't want that happening, because that's what we're trying to stop now.
Yeah. And the strength is there. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually really busy. Like, I've got so much mahi to do. But do you feel happy with that kōrero?
Yes, very happy, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go, and what I'm going to do, I recorded that